Hey, what is up guys? So I've just submitted my Form B and paid my tax to LHDN a few days ago with the help of an accountant, and so I thought why not make an update video on my sole proprietorship business while giving you some tips that you can definitely take away and improve your business, especially when it comes to the complex taxation matters. If you haven't registered for a SSM account for your business yet, I highly encourage you to do so. You can follow the step-by-step guide in this video. Should be pretty simple, and with that out of the way, let's get started. The first tip I have for you is to track your business revenue and expenses separately from your personal transactions. That means whatever business income you are receiving or whatever business expenses you are incurring, it all flows in and out of your business current account only. The reason why you want to do that is because 1. It streamlines everything in a single current account, and at the end of each month, you can just download the bank statement and then perform your own account reconciliation easily. Trust me, this will save you a lot of time. 2. This will speed up your accountant's job and make their life easier. And if you hire an accountant to file your taxes, which is what I did for my business, you will save a lot of money because they usually will charge you a set amount of fees for the amount of transactions and pages of bank statements that they have to go through. So imagine if you want them to audit your transactions across multiple bank accounts, your fees would easily add up to a huge amount. And while we're at it, sometimes due to different circumstances or whatever, you will come to a situation where you need to spend for your business using your personal savings account or your personal credit card. No worries, that is totally fine since it's a sole proprietor. Just keep the necessary invoices or receipts and you should be good to go. Tips number 2 is to keep the books up to date, because not only it gives you a clear view of your profit margins and cash flows, it also enables you to visualize your growth trajectory even better. What do I mean by that? Well, imagine your business is running about 10,000 ringgit in monthly profits, and because you keep your books updated, you can roughly estimate your annual taxable income to be around 120,000 ringgit, and that places you somewhere in the 21% and 24% tax bracket. That means, setting aside the taxes that you need to pay in the coming tax season, you will be left around 75% or roughly 90,000 ringgit of net profit in that year, or roughly 7,500 ringgit in a month that you can use to expand your business. That can be anything ranging from hiring employees to purchasing new assets like computers or equipment, subscribing to online softwares and services, spending more on advertising and marketing fees, and etc. The sky is the limit, and really, it's better to think and plan ahead rather than living from month to month if you are serious about growing your business. It's pretty simple actually. You just have to track the revenue and expenses of your business that covers basic information like payment date, description, amount, and optionally invoice number to help you reconcile better. And that's it. If you plan to hire an accountant at the end of the year, you don't even need to bother about balance sheet or cash flow statement. They will do it all for you, but more on that later. I know keeping the books updated is tedious and sometimes it takes too much time and energy. I totally get it because I hate bookkeeping as well. But if that's the case for you, you can always subscribe to online accounting softwares like QuickBooks to at least automate some part of your invoicing or bookkeeping process. I, however, still do everything by Google Spreadsheets, which is technically the online Excel on your Google account, just because I can access it from wherever I want it and whenever I want it, instead of tying myself down to a single offline Excel sheet. I'm not paid to say this, but I might just consider subscribing to QuickBooks in the near future. I will definitely let you guys know how's my experience with them when the time comes. And just to summarize this point, the reason why you want to keep your books up to date is so that 1. You will be able to monitor and control your expenses, 2. Project and plan your finances ahead, and 3. Prepare the taxes payable in the coming tax season so that you won't be caught off guard in terms of cash flow. And speaking of bookkeeping, the next tip is very closely related to it, and that is to keep your files organized. Instead of just letting every invoice and receipts and bank statements and payment vouchers sit in one giant folder, I like to separate them into 3 main folders. 1. Revenue folder that consists of the invoice that I send out to any vendors as well as their transfer proof, and 2. Expenses folder. Also similarly, I keep all the payment receipts and relevant invoices or screenshots of the expenditure. And thirdly, equity folder that tracks the amount of money that I withdraw from or deposit into the business current account. And FYI, if you are running a sole proprietorship, you are free to withdraw money anytime you want to spend for your personal expenditures or whatever, which we call that owner's drawing. And vice versa, you are free to inject any amount of cash or capital into the account to fund whatever expense you want to incur, and we call that owner's advance. In case you're wondering, you need to keep track of this fund in and fund out amount since it is part of the equity section in your Borang B tax filing. But then again, if you hire an accountant, just submit this to your accountant and they will handle it all for you. So wrapping up this point, the reason why you want to keep your files organized is because it will help you out tremendously when you are dealing with an accountant, because you know where and what to look for when they request for clarifications. And the faster and more accurate you reply them, they will be able to complete their work faster for you, which in turn will also translate to lower costs incurred. So that's another sum of money that you can save by just being prudent with your documentations. As you can see here, my supposed billing should be 2,700 ringgit, but instead they charged me 2,100 ringgit because I replied them really quickly for every questions that they asked. The next tip is closely related to your business operations, and that is to maximize your business tax deductions. And let's be honest, why even bother setting up a business if you're not gonna take full advantage of the sweet deductibles? Anyways, to maximize your business tax deductions, you can do it via business expense or capital allowance. Let's start with business expense. Business expense obviously differ from one business to another since it needs to be tied to your income generation, but in general, there are some fees that are usually incurred by most businesses. For example, rental expense, travel expense, salary if you have employees, utilities like your TNB or water bill, web hosting fees, insurance, and etc. Some of the expenses like rental or utilities cannot be deducted fully since it might be used for non-business purpose as well, especially if your business is conducted from home like mine. So usually there is a partial deduction mechanism, and this is where the accountants will come in handy since they are able to advise you on the percentages accordingly. Here is a full list of business expenses alongside its tax treatment that I've gotten from my accountant. If you are interested to have a read, feel free to drop me an email or DM me via Instagram for it. Now, let's take a look at capital allowance. That usually comes in two forms. If your asset is worth less than 2,000 ringgit, you can treat it as small value asset and fully offset it against your taxable income for that year. But if your asset is worth more than 2,000 ringgit, you will have to treat it as a fixed asset and depreciate it according to the capital allowance rate determined by LHDN. And that capital allowance that you claim will be able to reduce your taxable income as well. There are a lot of resources online that you can read with regards to this, but my recommendation to you is to really find similar businesses in your field and learn all the relevant expenses that can be deducted, because for sure there are some kind of expenses here and there that you may discover, and that would eventually translate to more tax savings for you. The fifth tip I have for you today is to hire an accountant to file your taxes. Seriously, I cannot recommend you enough the value that you can get out of the fees you pay, because for the 2,100 ringgit that I spent for accounting advisory plus Form B filing service, it comes with advisory service to clear off any of your doubts or queries. It saves you time and headache to compile and calculate your taxable income, and it also helps you to file your income tax properly, just so you are better prepared in case LHDN knocks on your door in the future. So if you ask me, it's very well worth the money spent. Here's a brief timeline of my entire engagement with my accountant. I started on the 7th March where I received the quotation from them, and subsequently, after signing the engagement letter, I provided them with the basic information such as my Borang D, SSM info, and IC. 2 days later, they asked me for a full suite of documents with a checklist, as well as provided me with a guidance on individual tax reliefs that I can go for. Few weeks later, on the 1st of April, I paid 600 ringgit upfront fees, which is a partial payment since the final amount can only be determined after everything is completed. And at the same time, I also received first round of questions from them, for which I replied within a day or two as well. That happened for about 2 to 3 rounds back and forth via email and WhatsApp, and eventually on the 29th of April, I received my draft financial statements, Borang B, and tax computation document for me to sign off. At the same time, I paid the remainder 1,500 ringgit fees, since my total quotation comes at 2,100 ringgit after discount. After that, they submitted my information to LHDN using their tax agent account without requiring my intervention at all. That's amazing, right? All I had to do afterwards was to log in to LHDN using the link that they provide to pay the tax deficit. And that is basically the entire process. To summarize that, I basically just provided them with documents, paid them fees, answered some questions, paid LHDN, and it's all done within 2 months. Pretty amazing for the 2,000 ringgit fees if you ask me. But of course, this is obviously optional and you can always get away with your own financial statements. But trust me on this one, having proper documentations and statements prepared by a licensed professional will help you out in the future, especially when you need them to apply for a corporate credit card or use it as a supporting document for your mortgage or loan application. By the way, not sponsored and I don't receive any benefits from saying this, but shout out to the Liu & Co team for the amazing accounting service that they have provided me. Do check them out if you are looking for someone to do your future tax filings. So that is basically it from the first day of incorporating my SSM account about 7 to 8 months ago, which I've shown you guys step by step as well, to submitting the tax return a few days ago. I've basically covered most of the things that you need to know to get your business up and running. I hope this video is able to shed some light, especially for you aspiring business owners and entrepreneurs. And if it did, remember to subscribe because I have more in store for you in the coming days. Okay, with that said, thank you very much for watching. Stay safe, stay invested, and as usual, I will see you in the next one.